Chapter 22:15, Jiu vs. Miter 3. Just as Miter was reeling from the shock, Bang's warning still rang in her ears, and soon Ryan from the Eastern District issued the same alert. Their abilities exist solely to counter us. These bastards are far too prepared. Be cautious, extremely cautious. Miter's pupils suddenly contracted. She looked at Jiu. You wouldn't. A terrifying possibility dawned on her. Jiu smiled faintly. By the way, I possess a total of 763 abilities. And every single one of the celestial phenomena control abilities you wield, I can master them all. After speaking, Jiu raised both hands. A storm coalesced in her left palm, while thunder gathered in her right. As Miter stared in stunned disbelief, she unleashed both forces simultaneously. Instantly, Miter witnessed a colossal gale sweeping toward her, and terrifying thunder erupting across the sky. Miter's greatest pride lay in her mastery over wind, rain, lightning, and thunder. Yet that pride vanished completely upon meeting Jiu. Rumble! The storm and thunder roared, hurtling straight toward Miter. Retreat began to stir within Miter's heart. How could one fight such an opponent? Everything you knew, she knew too, and she possessed over 700 additional, unknown abilities. Meaning, as the battle continued, your powers would be completely mastered by her. Yet you'd never know how many more cards she held in reserve. Over 700 abilities meant 700 deadly threats. Miter instinctively retreated, frantically unleashing her power to form a storm barrier protecting her body. Thunder and storm slammed into her wind barrier with brutal force. The earth shook violently. The sheer energy dissipating from the impact shattered the ground for tens of kilometers around. Run! Miter desperately wanted to flee. An opponent like this was beyond her ability to handle. But where could she possibly escape to? This was her country. As one of the defenders of the city, if she fled, the Wulwan Empire would be doomed. So despite her primal urge to survive, as a highly trained warrior, she suppressed her inner fear. But how could she possibly fight such a terrifying entity? Her mind was in turmoil. Without understanding her opponent's true capabilities, any attack risked being countered. Just then, the voice of Brad, the Northern Sector Garrison Commander, came through the communication channel. Does exposing your ability mean you can't fight? The battlefield is ever-changing, and there are countless ways to utilize abilities. Even if our abilities are revealed, our rich combat experience remains. That is our greatest advantage. Brad's words struck Miter like a bolt of lightning, instilling immense confidence within her. Perhaps because a desperate army is a dangerous army, now that they had no retreat, fear and retreat were meaningless. Since battle was inevitable, they might as well strategize how to unleash their abilities in ways the enemy couldn't anticipate. Miter regained her composure. True, the enemy knew her abilities, but that didn't mean victory was impossible. Take the enhanced type mutants, everyone knew their strength lay in their physical bodies. But did that make them the weakest? Not at all. Miter carefully recalled Jiu's earlier storm and thunder attacks. While impressive in scale, their actual destructive power didn't surpass her own. This meant their abilities were roughly equal in strength. The enemy's advantage lay in the sheer variety of their powers. My advantage, however, is home field advantage. It lies in my deep understanding of this land that gave me birth and raised me. Once Miter regained her composure, all traces of inner panic vanished. Gazing at Jiu's combat suit, a strategy crystallized in her mind. Surface dwellers aren't adapted to subterranean combat environments, forcing them to wear bulky suits that supply oxygen. Therefore, if we can destroy their combat suits, we'll gain a massive advantage. With a bit of luck, the microorganisms of the underground world could even claim their lives. Miter relayed her plan through the communication channel to everyone. The Silver Armor generals, still agonizing over the intelligence leak, perked up at once. You're right. During the landing operation, we suffered a major disadvantage from the terrain. But this is the underground world now. It's our home turf. One by one, they grew excited. This was indeed an excellent strategy to defeat the human coalition forces. However, their excitement didn't last long. For suddenly, they realized the sky had changed. Literally, the sky had changed. The heavenly Iron Curtain, a curtain that had shrouded the Wulwan Empire for countless years, vanished in an instant. The fire support vanished along with it. Instead, 3 colossal super battleships, the pinnacle of war technology from the Tsanyuan tribe, hovered above the Wulwan Empire like 3 gigantic gods of destruction. Liu Karen had no idea why this had happened, as their offensive plan hadn't included this element. It could only be said that the situation on the battlefield shifted in the blink of an eye, something no one could fully anticipate. However, this was a good thing. Without a moment's hesitation, Liu Karen issued orders directly to the engineering lifeforms aboard the 3 super warships. They had a contingency plan originally intended for use after conquering the Wulwan Empire to exterminate all lizard men. But now, with the heavenly Iron Curtain gone, it could be deployed immediately. Above the 3 super warships, thousands of engineering mechanical lifeforms swiftly executed Liu Karen's orders in the control centers. Launch bays on the warship's sides opened, projecting 3 colossal artillery shells toward the Wulwan Empire. Each shell's volume roughly equaled that of a heavy intercontinental ballistic missile. Even if equipped with a Reaper of Love warhead, it could at best destroy only a small section of the Wulwan Empire. For the vast Wulwan Empire, it hardly constituted as a dangerous weapon. Even if aimed at the central district, they would be intercepted by its most formidable air defense systems. Yet they did not intend to strike the ground. Instead, they were launched in 3 distinct directions. In the sky, they formed a perfectly equilateral triangle. Then, the bombs detonated. What erupted was not a terrifying shockwave or a searing wave, but light, blindingly intense light. For the first time, the skies above the Wulwan Empire witnessed the sun. 3 suns, dazzling and fiery, blazed forth with light that swept across the entire land in an instant. Every corner of the Wulwan Empire that could be illuminated was enveloped in its radiance. Chapter 22:16, Jiu vs. Mitre 4. An indescribable sensation, a searing pain like being burned by flames, caused every lizard man bathed in the light to emit agonized howls. Their skin swelled and turned crimson as if scalded by boiling water, blistering over and over. The light seemed to carry a terrifying toxin, causing them excruciating suffering. They writhed and cried out, desperately seeking shelter from the glare. Indeed, the 3 super warships unleashed ultraviolet bombs. But their deployment wasn't merely a single release. After the initial explosions, thousands of smaller ultraviolet bombs rained down from within like a torrential downpour. These cluster submunitions fell across all directions of the Wulwan Empire, forging an environment of extreme terror and lethality. The Huashu Kingdom coalition forces were prepared, even they would suffer bodily mutations from such intense ultraviolet radiation. How much more so for these lizard folk, confined underground and reliant year-round on artificially generated light from technology. The entire Wulwan Empire was transformed by the ultraviolet rays into a vast sea of fire. They were mercilessly scorched by the ultraviolet radiation, suffering agonizing pain. Even lizard men soldiers on the battlefield could scarcely escape this calamity. Specialized ultraviolet combat suits were reserved exclusively for mutants of blue armor level or higher. Ordinary soldiers' combat gear couldn't withstand such terrifyingly intense ultraviolet radiation. Thus, their current sensation felt like being thrown into boiling water at 70 or 80 degrees Celsius. Even the most resolute warriors became dazed and disoriented, unable to maintain combat effectiveness. This tactic effortlessly inflicted heavy casualties upon the lizard men across the 5 major districts. Without immediate medical intervention, those exposed to such intense ultraviolet radiation would not survive long. The heavenly Iron Curtain could have shielded them from this deadly radiation, but Jinglu had shut it down for his own sake. No, perhaps he had known this outcome from the very beginning. Regardless of the war's outcome, after this battle, at least 90% of the Wulwan Empire's populace would perish. The vast majority of civilians, along with some nobles accidentally exposed, would perish. The intense ultraviolet radiation also affected the Silver Armor generals, but their advanced combat suits provided protection, mitigating the damage significantly. Front lines. Miter watched as lizard men soldiers fell one by one, their bodies contorted by cellular mutation, eyes filled with rage. She hadn't anticipated that the enemy had arrived at the same conclusion as her. Now, whether it was her or Zhuyu, whoever had their armor breached and was exposed to the air would suffer catastrophic damage due to their biological nature, leading to defeat and death. Whoosh, whoosh. Miter raised her hand, summoning an endless storm around her that formed a massive wind barrier. She had to protect herself now, otherwise, that intensity of ultraviolet radiation would cause massive cellular mutations even with her physical resilience. Crackle! Bolts of lightning descended from the sky, engulfing the entire space where Zhuyu stood. Zhuyu, however, remained utterly unfazed. Spreading her palms, the barrier of absolute air nimbus isolated a space above her. Though the thunderbolts crashed down relentlessly, they failed to pierce her defenses. Instead, Zhuyu raised her hand. Beneath Miter, the earth suddenly rumbled. From the previously caved-in ground, tens of thousands of razor-sharp spikes erupted, piercing toward her body. Mastering a few celestial phenomena and thinking you're something special? How arrogant! I'll show you what true limitless power looks like. Massive earthen spikes pierced through layer upon layer of wind barriers. The earth roared as it surged upward, forming not just one, but an entire range of colossal mountains. No, not one, but a line of immense mountain ranges. Rising from a central peak, they stretched endlessly, the entire battlefield shaking violently. Zhuyu had truly created mountains from the ground up. No matter how fierce the storm raged, it could not shake these colossal peaks. Zhuyu harnessed the earth's might, rendering the storm's power useless. The endless mountain range became a natural barrier against the storm. Miter's storm assaults shattered mountain peaks at best, unable to destroy the colossal massifs. Gritting her teeth, she soared skyward, fleeing from the earth. Gazing down at Zhuyu, she raised her right hand high. Above, the vast dark clouds she had conjured unleashed torrential rain after thunderclaps. Wind and thunder proved useless against Zhuyu, so Miter shifted her focus to water-based attacks. On this frozen land, such a thing shouldn't exist. Miter condensed vast quantities of rainwater, transforming the downpour into a colossal dragon. Billions of solid, transparent water blades hovered around it as it plummeted from thousands of meters above, crashing toward the earth. Roar! The colossal dragon, formed from tens of millions of tons of water, aimed its head directly at Zhuyu and slammed down. Among Zhuyu's abilities, controlling water was indeed absent. Yet, upon witnessing Miter's power, she smiled. Turn water to ice? That should do it. She drew in a deep breath and exhaled slowly. The mist that escaped her lips transformed into tendrils of icy white smoke. Winter solstice frost mist. She exhaled the dense, frigid white vapor. What began as a single wisp surged upward ceaselessly, coalescing into a colossal barrier that blocked the torrential downpour. The temperature of the entire surrounding space plummeted instantly, even coating the soldiers' corpses with a layer of frost. Within moments, the entire battlefield cooled by over 100 degrees, nearly matching the temperature of the land world. The sudden drop in temperature also froze the giant dragon in the sky and those water blades. Fools! Miter paid no heed. Being struck by such a massive volume of water would only trap them in the swirling currents. But being attacked by the ice dragon and the ice blades covering the entire battlefield would only lead to a far worse fate. Even transformed into an ice dragon and ice blades, their descent showed no sign of slowing. Ice shards as vast as the sky itself crashed down upon Zhuyu. Yet Zhuyu had her own calculations. In the land world, aside from a few coastal mutants, very few people mastered the art of water manipulation. Zhuyu herself was no expert. Thus, she chose to face the onslaught of ice dragons and blades rather than be engulfed by the ocean. As the sky-filling attack descended, she merely smiled faintly before her form began to dissolve. A gust of wind swept her away, transforming her entirely into a vast cloud of blue smoke, her physical form vanishing. The heavy, razor-sharp ice blades and ice dragons raining down from the sky, blooming into beautiful ice flowers upon impact, could not harm her in the slightest. She had already transformed into wisps of smoke, soaring skyward. Witnessing this, Miter's pupils dilated in shock. She recognized this familiar ability. It had once belonged to one of her comrades, a member of the Silver Armor Generals.